When your dog yawns right in the middle of a tense moment, do you actually know what they're trying to say? Most people chalk it up to tiredness. Maybe boredom. It's such a small, ordinary thing that it barely registers. But behind that yawn, there's a message most owners completely miss. It's one of the most vulnerable forms of communication your dog has. A silent language they've been speaking their entire life. And if you keep misreading it, which most owners do, you might be responding in ways that make their anxiety worse, without ever realizing it. Let's start with what your dog is actually saying. 1. The myth of the relaxed dog. You've seen it 100 times. Your dog is sitting calmly, maybe you're having guests over, or the vet just walked in. Then they yawn. They look away. They lick their lips. And you think they're fine. They're just chilling out. That's what most people assume. That these are signs of a calm, relaxed animal. Here's what's actually happening. These behaviors have a name in behavioral science. They're called calming signals. And they don't mean your dog is relaxed. They mean your dog is trying to become relaxed, because something in their environment is stressing them out. Think about that for a second. Your dog isn't yawning because they're sleepy. They're yawning because they're overwhelmed and they're using the only tool they have to try to manage it. They're sending a message. To you. To the room. To whatever is making them feel unsafe. And the painful part is that most owners smile right through it. The emotional stakes here are real. Because a dog who signals stress and gets no response doesn't just stay stressed. They learn that communication doesn't work. And that's where deeper anxiety begins. Later in this video, I'm going to show you the one sign that looks like perfect behavior, the calm, still, obedient dog that every owner wants, but is actually a sign that your dog has given up on communicating with you entirely. It's the most heartbreaking thing in this video, and most owners never see it coming. Stay with me. 2. What the research actually found. You might be wondering where this even comes from. Is this real science, or is it just something people say online? It's real. And it goes back further than you'd think. Norwegian dog trainer and ethologist Turid Rugas spent decades studying free-ranging dogs and documented over 30 distinct calming signals that dogs use to communicate stress, appeasement, and discomfort. Her research, which has since been built on by behavioral scientists across Europe and North America, established that yawning, lip licking, turning the head away, sniffing the ground, and moving in a slow curved arc towards someone are all deliberate social signals. Deliberate. That word matters. Your dog isn't doing these things randomly. They're doing them on purpose, because at some point in their development, these signals either worked, or were modeled by other dogs around them. A 2018 review published in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science found that stress-related signals in dogs are present in over 80% of anxiety-inducing situations, and that the majority of owners either didn't recognize them or misinterpreted them as neutral behavior. Let that land. More than 80%. Which means the odds are high that your dog has been telling you they're stressed, in a language they expect you to understand, and the message hasn't been getting through. That's not a criticism of you. Dogs don't come with instruction manuals. But once you know, everything changes. 3. The body that tells the truth before the mind does. Here's where it gets even more powerful. Calming signals aren't just emotional. They're physical. Your dog's body is responding to stress in ways you can literally see, if you know where to look. Watch for these: the yawn that comes out of nowhere. The sudden intense interest in sniffing the floor when nothing was there a moment ago. The slow, exaggerated blink. The whale eye, where you can see the white rim around your dog's iris. The tail that's wagging low and fast, not loose and high. These aren't random. They're a stress response activating in real time. And here's what most people don't realize. These signals often appear in clusters. It's rarely just one. Your dog yawns, then looks away, then licks their lips, then tries to create distance. Each one is a sentence. Together, they're a paragraph. A full message that says, I am not okay right now, and I need this to change. The body doesn't lie the way behavior can be suppressed. You can train a dog to sit still through discomfort. You can accidentally teach them that showing fear leads to correction. But the calming signals usually leak through anyway, because they're reflexive. They're your dog telling the truth even when they've been taught to be still. Now, before we keep going, if you're learning something new about your dog, hit like and subscribe. That's how we get these videos to more dog owners who want to love their dogs the right way. 4. Where this language comes from. This isn't something dogs invented for living with humans. It's ancient. Wolf and wild dog social groups depend on communication that prevents conflict. Because in a pack, a fight can mean injury, and injury can mean death. So over thousands of generations, canines developed a rich vocabulary of appeasement and de-escalation signals. Yawning. Turning away. Moving in slow arcs instead of direct lines. Offering the side of the body instead of a head-on approach. These were survival tools. When two unfamiliar dogs approach each other and one yawns and curves their path, they're essentially saying, "I'm not a threat. I don't want conflict. Let's keep this safe." Domestic dogs didn't lose that language when they moved into human homes. They adapted it. Now they use it not just with other dogs, but with you. With children. With strangers. With anything that feels overwhelming or uncertain. What makes this even more meaningful is that your dog choosing to use these signals around you isn't weakness. It's communication. It means they still believe, on some level, that communication might work. That you might respond. That the relationship is worth trying. 5. They don't do this with everyone. Pay attention to when you see these signals. And more importantly, with whom. Dogs who feel entirely safe and comfortable with a person rarely need to use calming signals around them. The signals show up most often in new situations, with unfamiliar people, during conflict, during overstimulation, or when they feel pressured, physically or emotionally. But here's the layer that most owners miss. Some dogs use calming signals most around the people they love. Not because those people are frightening, but because those people are the ones they're trying hardest to communicate with. The ones they trust enough to keep trying. Think about that. If your dog yawns when you're frustrated, looks away when your voice gets sharp, or moves in a slow curve toward you during an argument in the house, they're not ignoring you. They're trying to help. They're offering the only tool they have for reducing tension in the room. They're trying to take care of you. You didn't know. Most owners don't. But that signal, that small quiet turn of the head, is your dog reaching toward the relationship. Saying, "Let's not let this become a rupture." 6. The most heartbreaking sign of all. Remember earlier, when I told you about the dog who looks like perfect behavior? The calm one. The still one. The one who seems totally unbothered by everything. This is what I was talking about. When calming signals stop working, something shifts. A dog who has tried to communicate distress repeatedly, and received no response or the wrong response, doesn't always escalate to growling or snapping. Sometimes they go the other direction. They shut down. They stop signaling altogether. And that quiet, still, compliant dog? The one who never seems to react to anything? The one you might even brag about because they're so well behaved? Behavioral scientists call this learned helplessness. It's not peace. It's a dog who has stopped believing that communication works. A dog who has disconnected, not because they're calm, but because trying felt pointless. This is what most owners never realize. The dog who growls when cornered is often healthier, communicatively, than the dog who goes silent. The growl is still a signal. It still believes in the relationship enough to speak. The silence can mean something much deeper has broken. Here's what makes this even harder to see. These dogs often look fine in photos. They sit still for hugs. They tolerate things without flinching. From the outside, they look like the perfect pet. But on the inside, they've simply stopped trying. This isn't meant to frighten you. It's meant to reframe what you're watching for. A dog who is still using calming signals, even imperfectly, is a dog who is still reaching toward you. Still trusting. Still speaking. That's not a problem dog. That's a connected one. 7. How to respond and what to do right now. So what do you actually do with all of this? First, learn to see the signals. Yawning, lip licking, looking away, slow blinking, curved approaches, sudden sniffing, freezing, wail I. Start noticing when they appear, and what was happening in the room right before. Second, when you see them, slow down. Lower your voice. Create space. Move at an angle instead of directly toward your dog. You can even mirror a calming signal back to them: a slow yawn, a soft blink, a turned head. Dogs understand this. Research shows it reduces arousal measurably and signals back that you are safe. Third, don't push through it. If your dog is signaling stress during a training session, a greeting, or a hug, stop. Let them regulate. Resume when they're ready. And if the signals suddenly disappear in a dog who used to show them, pay attention to that. A change like that is worth taking seriously. It might mean they've found genuine comfort. But it might mean they've stopped trying. And those two things look identical from the outside. Don't ignore it. So when your dog yawns in a tense moment, or turns their head away when the room gets loud, or suddenly finds something fascinating to sniff on the floor, they're doing something that takes real courage. They're asking for help in the only language they have. That's not tiredness. That's not boredom. That's your dog trusting that you might be listening. That's them reaching toward you across a communication gap that most owners don't even know exists. And that yawn, that small, easy to miss signal, was never nothing to them. It shouldn't be nothing to you either.